of Everybody Has a Story to Tell. Today's guest is Matt Anderson. Matt, would you like to give a little bit of info about yourself, but not too much?
Okay, sure. Excuse me, folks. My throat's a little dry, so I'll be sipping Dr. Pepper through this. Um, I'm Matt Anderson. I am a screenwriter, director, producer for Key 13 Films. I also do photography at Key 13 Photography Studio. I've also written reviews and just done a lot of stuff in the entertainment world in various levels and worked my way from the bottom up to where I'm at now.
That's pretty awesome. Actually, you just touched base on one of the first things I had to ask you. Because I know when we were talking about it the other day, you didn't really mention it, but it's something that I have an interest in, so I was curious about. And that has to be the photography. Like, what got you started in wanting to do the photography just in general?
Just in general, I used to run a anime DVD review website that reviewed anime,
Mhm.
and then we branched into Asian cinema and video games and things like that. And I'd go to conventions, and there were always cosplayers there, and it's a great place to get pictures taken and take
Mhm.
pictures. So I started doing that, and then realized, I seem to have a kind of a raw talent. Of course, it was very unrefined, and it took me many, many years to get to a much better place. But it really just started with cosplay photography, and then I wanted to push myself, do more, and I developed my skills. And now I have, it's nothing major. It's just a little studio in my basement, but if you go to my website, every just about every photo there was taken just downstairs. So
Oh, that's pretty awesome because I was looking through the pictures the other day and they're really good. I like them.
thanks. I try to give people something a little bit different, in photography and in the movies too. So
Mhm.
I'm always just trying to make something that is already fun even more fun and interesting.
Right. And well, after the photography, is that when you started doing like the short films and things like that, or were you doing the short films first?
No, it was definitely started off with photography. I'd done a few short films, like I did this fake French film, long while ago. I did it with like the iPhone 3, and a bunch of pictures.
Mhm.
Um, and then because I did some videos of like working with models and things like that. I got hired by this show called Behind the Set, which was created by this woman, Rose Genevieve. And so I started working on that, and then wound up working on a movie. And we were interviewing the cast and crew of a movie. They needed a cameraman, so I took that job, and then that pretty much got me into ground floor. And
Mhm.
then um, did another film, and then uh, decided to go off on my own and did my first short film, and then it just went on from there.
I have to admit, I've watched a good bit of your short films on the Key 13 YouTube channel, and I did notice one thing. You seem to be able to rack up awards for your films.
Yeah, it we seem to do pretty good. Hoodies won a few, and Paralyzed, the sequel, did well. We did a music video that it just won one, but still, it was pretty cool. Um, and then it just continued on, and when we started doing feature length films, the screenplays have done well, and we're hoping to
Mhm.
parlay the success we've had in the short films into awards for the feature films.
Well, one thing that I've got to ask, do you remember the first feeling when you won the award like your very first award? Do you remember the feeling you had when you won that?
Yeah, it was for Hoodie. Uh,
Mhm.
and I just put it in there as a lark. I didn't think I was going to win, and then all of a sudden I won, and it was like, okay, let's do this again. And you know, for like with Hoodie, for every one award I won, there were five that I didn't get.
Mhm.
So it
Right.
was very up and down for a lot of it. Where one moment I'm like, yeah, right, another one, and then the next moment, oh, I didn't get one. And even with something like Anna Key, which has won 21
Mhm.
at this point, there's still about five, maybe 10 that we just didn't get. And a couple of them were ones I really wanted to get and I didn't, and I was kind of like, ugh. But
Yeah.
it's an exciting feeling to win an award, and whether it's the first award or the 21st award, it's still just awesome just to get that email that says, "Congratulations, you have been
Yeah.
selected. Congratulations, you have won best category."
Mhm.
So it's a wonderful feeling, and it for me it never gets old.
Right, and I'm glad that you brought up Anna Key because that was where I was gonna go next, and, the fact that it has won so many awards just off of the script
Mhm.
alone, and then you were able to submit it, and you've also been selected for the screenplay too, is that right? Or, like,
Yeah,
the I thought so,
yeah.
and
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
oh, you're okay, and so, what was your most notable one that you think you've got from Anna Key?
Ooh, well, one of the ones, the one from Tokyo.
Mhm,
Japan was pretty big. Um, I mean, I'd have to actually go look at the awards. The Gotham Film Award was pretty cool. That was from New York.
mhm,
Uh, you know, um, some of them were kind of more smaller festivals, newer festivals, but you know, pretty much I'm proud of every single one of them. And
right.
whether it's from a major film festival or from just a minor one, it's still all excuse me, it's still an award, and I wear it with honor and pride. So
I don't blame you, and I can say this, I was only on set 1 day for Anna Key, which is how we met, but I really appreciated your professionalism during the set, and I just knew it was gonna be a great film.
well, thank you. I really hoping that it will be too. I mean, well, will be. I hope it will be well received. I know it's a good
Mhm.
film.
Right.
And that was it was directed by Amanda Megan, who also co-wrote the
Mhm.
script with me.
Right.
So the two of us are a pretty good team. And so, with that, and unfortunately she wasn't there for the day we were filming. So I had to step in because I was the assistant director. So I stepped in
Mhm.
for her. But 90% of this movie is her
Right.
directing, and we really try. We try to be as professional. I mean, I know
Mhm.
some would consider us still amateurs. That's fine. What makes a professional? That's a philosophical discussion that you can go into. But yeah, we
Right.
we we try to keep our sets fun but serious. We've got work to do. We don't want people just sitting around waiting for something to
Mhm.
happen. Sometimes it happens. We try to avoid it, but we try to just be, you know, as professional and as focused as we can be, so that everybody there has a good time and everybody who worked there will want to work with us again at some point.
Right, yeah, I really do agree with it was a pretty good day, I enjoyed myself, even sticking around there at the end when you asked me if I would stay, I was kinda on the fence because I did have a 4-hour drive home, but I'm glad that I stayed.
Well, me too. And your reaction in your scene that you're in,
Mhm.
it's a great reaction. That you're just like, what? So that's what I really liked. I really liked what what you did there, and so yeah, it was. I'm glad that you stayed. Sorry, I didn't. If I'd known you had a 4-hour drive, I probably would have said, go, and I would have found somebody else. But I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I asked you, and I'm glad you stuck around. So, your reaction was perfect, and I know it's a kind of a blink and you miss it, but you're still in there. So
Yeah,
you can say you've been in an award-winning film, and you ain't lying. So
exactly. Because the picture you sent me, that's plain as day me.
yeah,
And I got another question about Anna Key.
sure.
Do you plan to release it soon, or are you going to go another year on the film circuit? What do you think you want to do with it?
Well, we're going to kind of do a little bit of both.
Mhm,
I do have a plan for a premiere.
mhm,
Um, I don't think I can release the date yet because we're still waiting on a couple things, but it will come. The announcement will be out soon. We just got to make sure everything's set with the theater. So yeah, we are going to do a premiere, and then we had a discussion and we debated on whether we were going to just do it on the festival circuit, but we really are proud of this movie. We really want to share it, so we're going to actually be able to do both. Because there's a lot of film festivals like the Austin Film Festival,
mhm.
um, the New York Film Festival, Toronto Film Festival. Pretty much, if it's a town name festival,
Yeah.
though a lot of those are pretty big, and then some of them are even will get you linked into bigger film festivals, and a couple are even Oscar level. That if you win there, you can actually be in contention for going to the Oscars. Now, I'd love to think that Anna Key will do that, but I'll be perfectly happy winning Austin or Toronto or any number of
Mhm,
the bigger film festivals. So we're going to release it. It's probably we're and then we'll put it on the festival circuit. I don't know. We're probably not going to release it on any kind of physical media, except for those who back the film.
mhm.
Some people bought DVDs and digital downloads, so they'll get their copies. But as far as actual physical media selling it, that's the next discussion after we do the festival circuit.
Well, nice, nice. Well, I'm pretty enthused by Anna Key, I'm not going to lie. And I think another thing that really intrigues me with Key 13 films in general is the variety of films. Like, Serious Profession is a completely different genre.
Yes. Yes. That was when I created the company with some other people who, for various reasons, had to move on to other things. When we created, the big thing we wanted to do is we as much as we love horror films, and there's a lot of them. As much as we love those films, we didn't want to start off the gate by doing what everybody else did. We wanted to kind of make our own stamp, so to speak. And so we intentionally, Hoodie is a horror film, but there's a lot more to it. You know,
Mhm,
um, we've kind of wanted it to be diverse. So we did Serious Profession, which is a crime drama, and then we moved over to Anna Key, and then we also decided, but these are really big movies with heavy themes. Let's have some fun. So we
mhm,
created our Cinephoto line, and then thus we created Heavy Duty Man, and then we also were approached by Brandon Salisbury for his film Resident Evil, is a documentary about the Resident. It's called George A. Romero's Resident Evil. Sorry, uh, and it's the documentary about the film he never got to make. He was hired to do it, and then he was fired. And this documentary talks about that. So that's why we decided to when Brandon came to me, I really liked the idea, so decided to
Mhm.
go ahead and do that. And then we did Heavy Duty Man on Cinephoto, and now we're getting ready to do our next Cinephoto film, which is These Things, which we've announced that it's coming out because we had to do a casting
Mhm.
call, but we aren't really giving out who's in it yet because we want to save that for when we launch the campaign or a little closer to the campaign. So
Mhm.
yeah, we try to give, just like with the photography, we try to give people something more, something
Mhm.
interesting. Not just the people watching it, but the people in it. Give actors an opportunity to be in something that they may not have been in before, or not exactly the same way. So that is something that we set out from the get go with Key 13, and along with Cinephoto. We really wanted to just try different things, and we're already looking at the next film after These Things, and it's so hard to decide what we're going to do. We're going to do a we're doing a horror comedy now. So what are we going to do next? Are we going to do a psychological thriller? Are we going to do a sort of a emotional drama? Are
Mhm.
we going to do something silly again, like Sexy Sorority Sisters of Death? We That's just the wonderful thing, is that when you don't put yourself in just one type of genre, you can really, the sky's your limit, and so that's what we're doing. And like I said, we love horror, and I it's my first. Well, what it's not necessarily my first love. My first love, science fiction, but it is one of my loves.
Mhm.
Halloween is my franchise. I was never a Friday the 13th guy, but Halloween's my franchise. So I love horror, but I also love telling other kind of stories. And some of these stories I've had for 20, 30, almost 40 years in some cases.
Oh, wow. So we have a lot to unpack out of that, and I do have a
Okay.
few questions. First, for people that are watching that might not know what Cinephoto is,
Hmm.
could you explain that a little bit?
Sure. Okay. So when we created Key 13, we pretty much decided that Key 13 was going to be serious, dramatic films.
Mhm.
We did have a horror film called Phobic. It wasn't called Phobic at the time, it was called Phobias, but there's a lot of films named Phobias, so we decided to name it Phobic. So we were going to do a horror film, but we realized that, well, one, we rushed it too soon after Serious Profession. And we also realized that it was going to cost a lot. We just couldn't make the goal. We weren't established enough, so we pulled that back. So the decision was always to make Key 13 to be much more dramatic kind of films, like Anarchy, Serious Profession, Following, which is one that's the screenplay has been completed recently. Um,
Mhm.
and we decided, but you know what, we like to have fun. We like going out in the woods with the horror film gang and filming a slasher movie, or a goofy science fiction comedy, or uh you know uh I love, for me, one of my big loves is the witch, satanic subgenre of horror. Like there's this movie called Jenny, about this Southern girl goes to this posh um, school, and she's a snake charmer, and she uses snakes. She likes to um, just be wild and crazy or fun, and that's why we have that. We have These Things, Heavy Duty Man, which was directed by Tom Toohey. That's our first set of photo film.
Mhm.
Originally it was kind of just a fun idea that I had, that I fleshed out. We did a proof of concept trailer, which, because we decided we were going to make the film, and then some things happened. We had to kind of put it on the back burner, and then Tom stepped up, took over, and just ran with it. And he created absolutely hilarious film, and it's a you know mashup of things like Toxic Avenger and the revenge films. Only instead of the great looking muscle Arnold Schwarzenegger type, we got a big old heavy set,
Yeah.
fat guy. He's the fat heavy duty man. He's a heavy duty man. So we decided, let's just go with it. Tom did a great job on the screenplay and with the directing. He got a really great cast on that. So that's why we have Cinephoto. It's to make those fun. Doesn't take itself seriously. Everyone can just kind of kick off their shoes, grab a bag of popcorn, and just spend 90 minutes just having fun.
Right. And is okay, in Serious Profession and Heavy Duty Man, are those 2 available to watch anywhere?
Not yet. So along with when some of my the people who helped found it left, we also lost some of the people that were helping put those things together.
Mhm.
Serious Profession, Heavy Duty Man, George A. Romero's Resident Evil, and Anna Key will all come out this year.
Okay.
All four of them are in the final stages of post production. So, yeah, you can't see it yet, but very soon, within the next 6 months, all four should be out. That's the game plan, and I'm trying to stick pretty hard to that, so that when we start working on production on these things, I'm not having to worry about all the other stuff.
Right, right. And I do have a couple of questions about making a documentary.
Okay.
Like you stated earlier that they approached you for it.
Hmm.
Did you have in your mind that it would be challenging to do a documentary considering you were used to doing scripted films? Well, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, it's well, Brandon Salisbury, who's directing it,
Mhm.
he had a very clear vision, and he actually did have. It's a script, but it's not like you're going to say
Yeah.
this. It's okay. This is kind of the information that this person's going to talk about it at this part in the
Mhm.
movie. He had it very set out. A little history, then a little history on George Romero, a little history on the game, then how those two combined in a commercial, and then what happened after that. So, um, doing a documentary, there are many different ways to do a documentary. There's actually surprisingly good ways and bad ways, just
Mhm.
like with really about anything. So, but Brandon, his the way that he envisioned it is exactly what we saw. It's for lack of a better term, very slick. It looks really great. It's interesting. It's the kind of documentary I would watch.
Right.
And it's more than just some guy sitting there talking for 30 minutes or 50 minutes or whatever.
Mhm.
Like some documentaries out there, which is just some guy droning on and on and on and on. Um,
Right.
so and there's a lot of difficulties, especially with the kind of vision that Brandon had. There was location filming and setting the
Mhm.
right mood and atmosphere. So in some ways it was still very much like a scripted production, where we had to find locations, and then we had to get the people there, and we had to set up the lights and the cameras and the sound and all that stuff. But what just made it different is that instead of having a script supervisor reading and making sure nobody skipped their lines. And if somebody flubbed, they can just go back, because it's more of a
Mhm.
conversation. So it made it easier in that respect. So they kind of are similar. The big difference is that the documentary, it's more the personalities involved than necessarily the characters that have been written.
Right. See, I don't think a lot of people realize that a documentary is somewhat scripted, but nothing compared to a cinematic.
That is
So
that is very true. You got to have an idea of what you're with the documentary. even with the screenplay, you got to know the story you're wanting to tell. How are you going
Mhm.
to tell that story? And are you going to tell it in a way that people are going to want to watch and stick with it? Or are you going to tell it in a way that somebody's 30 minutes in, they're bored, and then they just click it off? I've seen some documentaries that I watched them. I'm 30 minutes in and I say, oh, this is terrible, and just turn it off because I have no interest in finding out how
Right.
the story is. And just like a screenplay, you want to know, you want to see how it ends. So
Mhm.
even if you already know how it ends, you still want to find out how it ends. And
Right.
that's it is scripted, but it's nowhere near to the level that a screenplay is, because um you're not people playing characters, you have people being themselves, and people are far more interesting and quirky and strange than any character you can ever write in a movie.
That is correct. That's right. And we are at what I like to call a blitz round.
Okay.
I like to ask 5 questions, and this gets to know more about you as a person.
Oh
I'll
boy.
ask I'll ask you 5 questions, and as soon as I ask, just whatever comes into your head, answer.
Okay.
Favorite food?
Tempura chicken.
Favorite film genre?
Science fiction.
Favorite band?
Fleetwood Mac.
Favorite actor or actress?
Ooh, dang, that's a tough one. There's a lot. I'll say right now, Lily Gladstone. I've been a fan of hers for a while. Now that she got nominated for an Oscar, it's well deserved. So I'll say Lily Gladstone right at this moment.
And the last one is your dream collaboration.
Um, that would be with probably either Guy Ritchie or Robert Rodriguez.
Ooh. So would you want to do like how you said your favorite film genre was the science fiction, would you wanna do like a science fiction type film with one of them?
Yes. I think both have this very raw cinematic style that I think could work well. I mean, technically, Robert Rodriguez has already done some similar stuff like that.
Mhm.
Guy Ritchie is pretty much more crime dramas, but either one I think could really make. I think they could make probably one of the more interesting science fiction films. And I certainly would. I mean, even if they just bought a script and completely rewrote it, they just took the basic idea. Even if they did that, I'd be absolutely thrilled.
Well, that tells a little bit of insight about you because honestly, I really one, Fleetwood Mac is one of my favorite bands too. So, yeah, you're one of the cool kids.
Yeah, Fleetwood Mac, I think probably it's the first band I actually knew who they were. I was like
Mhm.
6 or 7, and they were the first ones that I actually knew. And Christy McVie, um, who passed away not too long ago, her voice was just like when I heard "You Make Love and Fun" for the first time, it just you know when I first got the album Rumors, I wouldn't go past that song because I loved it so much. So yeah, I'm a huge Fleetwood Mac fan. Through the ups and downs and the lineup changes and things like that. Yeah, I can listen to just about every one of their songs over and over and over again and never get bored with
I'm about the same way.
it.
So, based on what you just said, is there a science fiction film that you tell everybody this is your must watch? You got to go watch this. I hold it up here. This is my favorite one.
I have a few of those, but right now, just like actors, favorite actor or
Mhm.
actress, right now, Dune is probably one of my favorites, and I'm talking about the 1984 David Lynch version. Although The new one
Mhm,
is absolutely phenomenal. But the original 1984 Dune by David Lynch, for me, that's my go-to movie. But to be honest with you, I know that it's not for everybody. So the movie I do tell a lot of people they should see that is I feel is an underrated gem is Outland with Sean Connery.
mhm.
It was also made in the 80s. It's basically High Noon in space. And I think it's a great film. I mean, it doesn't get a lot of love. Excuse me. It doesn't get a lot of love, but that's the movie. You know, I definitely say everybody should at least watch. If they're not up for Dune and its complexities, Outland is just a good, straight, fun movie. And then I will say also this: if you want my favorite old school, like 1950s science
Mhm.
film, it the Terror from Beyond Space, which is basically the precursor to the movie Alien, which is also an excellent film. Um,
Mhm.
from the 50s, it's it. The Terror from Beyond Space is one of my favorites.
Well, everybody, you heard it here first. You just got some great movie recommendations. Now you can go type it in on your computer and have something to do tonight.
There you go.
And I want to jump back in about your upcoming projects because you
Okay.
touched a little bit on these things.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about what, as a viewer, we could expect from that?
Okay. So these things is a throwback to movies of the 80s because you know, I was born in the 70s, so you know
Mhm,
disco is still in my soul. But my movie watching development was in the 80s, so this is very much in the same vein as Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, Critters, and The Thing. You know, obviously these things.
right.
So the viewer can expect a lot of the stuff that was popular in the 80s. You know, cheesy aliens. Um, you know, a lot of gratuitous TNA, but no nudity.
Mhm,
But you know, just a lot of gore and fun and silliness and you know, kids basically being stalked by a menace, that sort of thing. It's a very 80s film, but it's obviously going to be set in modern time because they got cell phones and things like that. So um, it's a horror comedy. So there's going to be stuff in there. Lines of dialogues. We just the cast and I did a read through last month,
mhm.
and there were parts where we were just laughing so hard at what was going on and what was being said that I knew we had it. I mean, if I've got the
Mhm.
cast who are supposed to be, you know, very serious, just busting a gut laughing because it's so because of all the stuff that's happening, I knew we had something there. I feel it. I feel it in my bones.
That's good. Yeah, I think if am reading my script and I'm supposed to be serious, but I can't quit laughing,
Yeah.
it's a good one.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And do you think that there's going to be any crowdfunding, or is that what you're holding out on, waiting on?
Yes. We are going to be filming the trailer proof of concept
Mhm,
uh, in March, and that's when the crowdfunding is going to come out. I am going to be funding some of it myself,
mhm,
but in order to make the movie that we all want to make, and make sure we pay the actors, pay the crew, get a good location. I don't want to use my house. You know, find a good location. Um, you know, feed everybody. You know, we have to. There's a scene in a van, a couple scenes with a van. We have to rent the van. So
mhm.
we are going to be doing crowdfunding. The more crowdfunding we get, the better the movie can be. The better the special effects, which are done by Craig Sturz, who did the special effects on Heavy Duty Man. He also has done special effects on other films like Harbinger Down. So, the more that we can do, the more we can pay him, the more he can bring to the table. And he's already brought so much. And we haven't filmed a single shot, but just some of the test stuff he's done with the things,
Mhm.
with these things, it's already just like I'm just like giddy with excitement. So yeah. And part of the reason why we're not announcing the cast yet is because I want to make sure that you know we're able to get everything done that we need to. Because I don't want to announce the cast and then all of a sudden say, "Oh, sorry guys, we can't make the film because X, Y, and Z."
Right.
I've learned these are lessons that I've learned from other projects. So I'm not gonna to push myself um, too fast, too far, and then have to backtrack because I had to do that. Like with Serious Professional. Serious Professional was supposed to be out a couple years ago, but
Mhm.
because of different things happening and me having to do a lot of extra work on it, it and then we were already working on the next film. It just was just too much, and too many things started happening,
Yeah.
and I just don't want that to happen with these things. I want when these things come out, uh, it's going to be there, and you're pretty much not going to
Mhm.
escape it. It's going to be, especially when the funding campaign, you're going to see it everywhere. People are probably going to get sick of seeing these things, seeing the trailer, seeing the cast, doing videos. They're going to do videos. We're doing a whole bunch of different stuff. So, when we're ready to launch that thing, trust me, you are not going to be able to escape these things.
Well, to be honest with you, Anna Key is one that I can't escape that one. It's around too, so if you just double, you're gonna be doing good.
I hope so. I hope so. Yeah, and but Anarchy is an amazing film.
Mhm,
We had a great cast. Abigail Hendricks, who plays Anna, you saw her on set. She is just wow. I mean, just knocks you on your butt with how good she is. So, we got a really good cast. We got Jesse L. Green, who plays the Danny. He does a really great job on this one. So does Russell Sage Patrick, Amy Treat, Madison Hodges, Jay Jean, Jocelyn
mhm.
Ortega, just and so many other people there. I mean, and you, so many other great people who were a part of that. So I'm glad that it's out there. People are paying attention to it. Um, that's what I want because I really want people to see that. And once we have everything firmed up and we make the announcement, I'm hoping that we sell out the theater and that there is not a single empty seat in the place. So that's our goal.
I think it will sell out because I've been watching other podcasts with example Jesse L. Green,
Hmm.
and the way they talk about Anna Key, they are so proud. I'm proud of it for you. I know other people are proud of it. And I can't wait to see any of your future projects because I know that they're all going to be good.
Well, thank you. I hope you feel that way after you watch these things. Since this is, you know, just to give you a little bit of insight on it, the idea for these things came to me in a dream. And
Mhm,
in this dream, I'm sitting in the back of a movie theater and I'm sitting with a friend of mine, and the two of us have our hands on our heads like this. And you hear on the screen, "What the hell is it with these things?" And the entire audience is doing just what you're doing. They're just laughing and just roaring all the way through it. And we're sitting there in the back, going, "This is not what we set out to do. This is not what we were ever planning to do." And then I was like, "Okay, if it's a dream like that, that vivid, that I remember details of it,
Mhm.
I had to do it. I had to make it." So, um, pretty much started working on the treatment right the day after. Yeah, almost the probably I think it was like on a Tuesday, and it was like by Saturday I'd already started writing the script. So,
Well, that brings me to a question right there, something you said. What do you think is like your biggest inspiration when it comes to films?
uh, well, honestly, my biggest inspiration, and this is going to sound incredibly corny, but it was my mom. My
Mhm.
mom made sure that I actually had a film education. She showed me films that, because I was so sci-fi focused, she showed me films that I never would have watched if it hadn't been at her urging.
Right.
The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, the old Basil Rathbone Sherlock Holmes films, Slaughterhouse Five, Bonnie and Clyde. Just so many other movies, that she opened my mind to the bigger world of films. And so I started watching more and more and more films, all kinds of films from all genres, good films, bad films. Documentaries, is, I have to admit, is a more recent thing. I wasn't really big into documentaries for the longest time. And films like Anna Key, for a while there, it seemed like all the indie films were just about quirky characters with no story.
Mhm.
And I didn't ever want to write those kind of things. So because my mom introduced me to a wider world of film, not just the narrow genre I was focused on, that opened my mind. And then thus the experience that opened my mind to understanding things, so that the experiences that I've had in my life help influence that, because I can equate it to something else. Like Anna Key, there was in my life an Anna Key. There is an
Mhm.
actual person that Anna Key is based off of quite a few others. But so not wanting to write just quirky, I wanted to write the character. So because I had that background, I was able to write the character and create a more fleshed out person. And then Amanda came in and she gave the woman's perspective to Anna, because I'm not a woman. I can tap into
Right.
that side, but there are things that are particular to women that only women understand and realize. So Amanda's big role in that was helping to make sure that Anna's reactions were real and realistic, and what a
Mhm.
woman would actually do. She has said herself she is Anna. So she recognized the character. She read it, she knew who she was, because she had many of the same aspects. So that's why my mom's my biggest influence, because my mom opened my mind to all these different things, and it helped me analyze these films. And that's why I did movie reviews, and and other projects, just so that I could, when I finally sat down, and I was in my 40s by the time I wrote my first script,
Mhm.
um, which was Hoodie. I was finally ready, because of that influence, and all the things that I had done since then.
Very good, very good. And do you have any other outlets that you go for to get your mind off of films? Because I know that sometimes you just got to shut it off. What's your go-to?
I have a couple. First thing is actually watching movies. When I'm not thinking about my own films, I'm watching other films.
Mhm.
And sometimes I'll watch films I've seen a million times, like Alien, the first one, 1979, Ridley Scott, 1980, whatever. Um, Alien for me, that's my go-to movie. That's the movie that I can put in. I know it by heart. So
Mhm.
I don't think about anything but just being in that moment. So there's that. And then recently I've been getting a lot into AI art. And I know there's a lot of people who don't like it and who don't, you know, agree with it, and they feel that it's taking away from real artists, which, in some ways it is, but in many ways it's not. But for me, it helps me in some ways almost conceptualize some of my ideas. And then the neat thing about it is, let's say I come up with an idea. It isn't the way that I saw it in my head, but the way it comes
Mhm.
out looks really neat. And next thing you know, I started going down that particular rabbit hole to see what I can do to modify it. So, then it becomes I shut off. It's still the creative part of my brain, but it's not the okay. What are they going to say? What are they going to do? It's more just okay. Let's see what we can make this do. Make this AI make it do a little bit
Mhm.
differently. So those are. Excuse me. I had COVID back in December, and I still haven't got rid of the cough. Um, it's those are the two big things that I do to just take my mind off. And that, and one last thing, there's a British crime show called The Bill. It was on for 27 years. Um, I've been binge watching the earlier seasons nonstop. That's my complete unplug because I just love The Bill. All right, there you go.
Well, okay, I guess we'll go ahead and come to the end here. I want to know,
Aw.
is there anything else that we can expect from you yourself or Key 13 Films or anything in general?
Well, basically, as I mentioned earlier, we
Mhm.
have four films coming out this year. One Last Toast, which is a short film that I've been editing, is coming out in March. Then the funding campaign for these things will also come out. Will come out in April. We'll film in
Mhm.
March, and then we'll get it out there by April because we plan on filming in July. Every week, I post a review from on our Extreme Genre Kino Facebook page. So every Sunday, there's a new review of a cult film or an anime or something out there. So every Sunday you read those. Be on the lookout for the release of all four films, um, and then of course the funding campaign for these things, and then the release of One Last Toast, which has an absolutely stellar cast. And that will be coming out in March. So over the next couple months, you're going to start seeing a lot of announcements. This is coming out. This is coming out. Read this.
Mhm.
This is coming out. So
Well, I know I said I was going to wrap it up, but now I got another question.
okay. Hey, I can do this all night. So if you want to go, if you want to do a 2-hour show, hey, I'm down with it. So
What can we expect from One Last Toast? Because I know I seen the casting call and I was wanting to read through it, but I had other things going on and I didn't really get to see what it was about or anything like that.
well, without giving too much away,
Mhm.
because I really want people to watch it. Uh,
Right.
five female friends come together after the death of one of them. Their husband dies, so they
Mhm.
come together to console their friend. And as the short film progresses, you start to learn more about what about these people and what's been going on in things going on in their lives. So you really start finding out what's really going on behind these women's. I wouldn't say they're facades, but just the way that who people think they are isn't necessarily who they actually are. But what does that mean? You have to watch it and find out because it's going to surprise you. What the revelations in this thing. There's some pretty heavy revelations in this.
Right. Well, now I'm really intrigued because I like watching those types of shows myself, where it's things aren't always what they seem.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, and that and that's kind of a trademark of Key 13 is
mhm,
um we try to do films that on the surface they're this. Hoodie on the surface is a horror film,
right.
but there's more to it. If you actually listen to what they're saying and how they're reacting to things, you see that there's a lot more to it. And
Mhm,
so that's kind of what we do with the Key 13. We're Cinephoto, we're not that deep. We're what you see is what you get. You
yeah.
want a revenge movie, you got it. Heavy duty man. You want goofy aliens and attacking the Killer Tomatoes vibes. Boom, you got it with these things. So that's how we try to keep things interesting.
And I was looking on the website too. This brings me back to thinking of all the films and stuff that was on there. There's a pretty extensive team behind Key 13 films, isn't there?
Yeah, well, the neat thing about Key 13 is everybody that's involved in it, the team, they can come and go as they please. Um, I don't lock people in. You must be on this film. You must do every film. You must do every film that I come up with. Um,
Mhm,
it's actually works a lot better that we bring in so people see a project. If they're interested, if they want to be a part of it in some aspect, whether it's being a director or a producer or doing the music or being a cinematographer or whatever, um, they can come in on that particular project. And if it's a project that they read it and they're like, nah, this just isn't for me, or
mhm.
hey, I got this project that I've been wanting to do and I'm already committed to it, I can't do it. They can come and they can go.
Right.
And that's the nice thing about Key 13 is that when you're on a project, Anna Key was very much a collaboration with Jesse and Russell and Amanda and Karen Cooley. Um, you know, so that as producers, they all came together and now that once Anna Key was done and it was in the post production phase, they went on to other projects
Mhm.
that they wanted to do. And excuse me. So that's the nice thing about having that kind of leeway. So, yeah, we have a lot of great people, but we're always bringing in new people. And, sometimes the people that have been there for a while, they're like, you know what, I'm going to strike out on my own. So they leave for a while, then they can come back at any time. And that's one of the nice things about it. And Cinephoto, since it's all one big company, the same thing. They can come in if they like the idea, they like these things, they can come on board, and then if not, they don't. And no harm, no foul. Good luck in your project. See you on the next one, maybe.
Right, right. I really like that because I know there is a lot of times where life happens too.
Yes.
And the fact that there's so much leeway there, that is very nice.
Yeah, it is, and plus it keeps our films different because
Mhm,
not I'm not knocking it. Please, don't think I'm knocking it. But when you use the same people over and over and over and over and over again, yeah, you create kind of a style and you create a look and you create a feeling. And
mhm,
that's wonderful. Mark Byrne, who an absurd uh, pictures productions or absurd production pictures. I always get the two mixed up. I'm sorry, Mark. I apologize. But Mark Byrne, he has a unique style. I mean, when one of his movies on, I know exactly what it is, and that is
mhm,
wonderful. And that's why I'm always asking, "Hey, Mark, do you need help? I'm in, man." Um, but for me, I don't want to be necessarily stuck in one particular style. I'm
mhm.
already doing that with the writing. that's why we have Key 13 and Cinephoto. But I want to bring in new blood. I want to bring in newer people because there's so much amazing talent in this area that, I mean, for these things, the lead actress, she's on the cusp, ready to explode into
Right.
the scene, and I'm so thrilled that we get to have her, and it's killing me that I can't mention her name. But she's going to be one of those people that the talent once she's out there, she's going to be a steamroller, just like Abigail. Abigail was nobody's radar. None of us
Mhm.
had even heard of her when she auditioned,
Right.
and she just came in and just blew the door off the hinges. No offense to all the other actresses that auditioned, they were fantastic, but Abigail wasn't even what Anna was supposed to look like, you
Right.
know. eh, But because the early promotional stuff, we envisioned her kind of more blonde and a little bit more curvaceous, based
Mhm.
off the real person. And she came in, and because of who she is and her acting, just blew the door off the hinges. So there's so much great talent out there that's another reason why we kind of keep it wide and loose so that people can come and go, so we can bring in new people. I've
Right.
never worked with the same cinematographer um, on each film. And the cinematographer for a Serious Profession is different from the cinematographer on Anna Key, and we actually had a couple.
Mhm.
We had Jordan Miller, and then we also had Brad Chang, and then we had Rob Hagens. Just because on the different people in the cameras due to scheduling and other issues. Um, so we rotated around. These things is going to have a different cameraman. Matt Matson was on Heavy Duty Man. Haven't ever worked with him before. Brandon Salisbury has Tom Robinall on
Mhm.
George A. Romero's Resident Evil. He's amazing. I mean, keeping it open and bringing in new people and new blood really is what makes it is really what keeps it interesting, and keeps us from just for me. And again, I'm not knocking it for anybody who has a crew that works, that they know that are reliable. That's a great thing to have. It is worth its weight in gold. But for me, that's not what I want. I want to try to be each film to be thematically, visually, stylistically different. And so by bringing in people, new people, and having regular people, the regulars go off and do their other things, just
Mhm.
creates an even more rounded person. So when they come back, they bring all the stuff that they've learned outside and make something even better. So, that's just my personal philosophy. Again, I'm not saying my way is better than everyone else's. I'm just saying that's just the way that I like to do things.
Speaking of, like, some of the actors and actresses that I know that you just named off there, like Abigail, I met her that I talked to her that day in the bathroom, and I looked at her, I go, "How are you that hype, like, just on go?" And she kind of inspired me a little bit. She goes, "Believe me, I'm gonna crash after this," or something along the lines. And I'm like, "Boy, you don't show it." So, to me, that is pretty good acting.
Mhm.
And I was just intrigued by it, how you were saying, "She blew me away too," and I can just imagine what the other actors and actresses are gonna be like on your future ones that you're gonna choose, because she brought it.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that a lot of that's one of the big things about when we cast.
Mhm,
We don't look at just what they look like. And some do that, and that's fine. I mean, if that's what you're looking for, if you're looking for a certain type of man or woman, okay, fine, no problem with that. But for us, even in something like a cinephoto film, it's always the best actor for the job. Um,
Yeah.
and the best actor may not always necessarily be the best actor as an acting, but they
Mhm.
are reliable, they are solid, they are dependable, they come, they do the job, they knock it out, you know. So it's always for us. I have a kind of a saying that it's the role is won in the audition. If you come into the audition, even if a video audition, I know a lot of people hate them, and when COVID happened, that became, excuse me, the kind of standard because you
Mhm.
couldn't do the face to face. And that's what we had to do with Anna Key is we did video auditions, and Abigail was so amazing. She blew it away in the video audition, and and other actors also blew it away in the video audition as well. So but then we were when we moved up to that next phase again. She just really blew the door off the hinges. And so so it's the acting because again, Abigail did not look anything like the way that Anna Key was written or envisioned,
Right.
but she came in and just knocked it so out because the acting was there, the skills. And so we always try to get the best actor for the role. And it's not just acting but in physical, but just a whole slew of factors: reliability, accountability,
Mhm.
dedication, energy. As you said, she came in with high energy. She came
Yeah.
into everything with high energy. It was just like, wow. You're just like feeling like, oh my gosh, I am a slug. I'm just moving at slow speed compared to her because she's zoom. So, you know, that's one of the big things with us is it's always about how well you do in the audition. If you kill it in the audition and you get a call back and you kill it in the callback, you're going to get that role. And the actress that's in these things, then you know most of the cast are people that I've worked with before, but there's a couple of people I
Mhm.
never worked with, but they just blew me away with how good they were. And so I knew, okay, you guys definitely got to have you guys. So that's
Well,
something that we always try to do is we try to find the best people, and that's behind the camera as well.
mhm.
um, you know, Andrew Stainer, he's my sound guy now. He's one of the few, the few that I've worked with on all my, on three of my four feature films. He has been my sound guy. Because George Romero's Resident Evil, that was all Brandon and Tom Robinall, so they had their own crew. Because
Yeah.
they're out in Pennsylvania, and I wasn't able to go out there for every single uh, well, I wasn't out to be able to go out there for pretty much except for one filming day. Um, um, but I always just try to find the best people, and again, being so open and flexible really helps with that because again, there's so much talent out there on both sides of the camera. You got to reach out and bring them in if you can.
I was gonna ask you, has there been any like standouts out of over all of the castings that other than Abigail that you're just like you, nobody else. I don't want to watch anything else. I want this person.
Well, pretty much if they're in the role in one of
Mhm.
our films, that was the choice. There's been, a couple of roles that were hired because of other factors. We had a couple in Anarchy that had never acted before, but
Mhm.
because they were good, reliable, dependable people, and they may not have had the acting experience, but they jumped right in and helped us out, and
Right.
brought that right energy and stuff. But generally, if we hire somebody, those are the
Mhm.
standouts. Those are the people that have, with the exception of a couple of roles, that the person like Jesse L. Green and Anna Key, he was Danny. I'd written him before I'd met Jesse. In Serious Profession, um, Rick Germain, who plays Mr. Kite. That's I had written Mr. Kite before I met Rick.
Mhm.
So on those couple occasions, I actually got the guys that best match the characters. But for the most part, if they're hired, there's those are the standouts. And again, I don't want to belittle anybody else because everybody who made it to a the actual the in-person audition, they were also standouts. Uh,
Right.
we just we can't hire everybody. I want to hire everybody that auditions. I really do. I really wish I could, because I hate telling the worst feeling in the world is writing an email saying I'm sorry, you were great, but not enough to get cast. We went with somebody else. I hate doing that, but they understand. They'll be disappointed. I'm disappointed for not being able to hire them. It's like, why
Right.
can't I get? Well, I could keep adding in people. Next thing you know, my screenplay is 500 pages, and I've
12 hours long.
yeah, if you go a minute a page, that's 500 minutes. That's you know 4 hours, 5 hours, longer than that. So I have to make those tough decisions. So yeah, as far as standout goes, yeah, Abigail is like, definitely stood up.
Mhm.
But really, anybody who's in one of my films have stood out because even if they, like One Last Toast, couple of the actors that are in there, I've just been wanting to work with them. I've seen them in
Right.
other things. I know what they can do. I know what they bring. I had to work with them. But if not, if they go through the audition process, the ones we hire are the best ones for the job, and those are the standouts, along with all those who made it to the read through. Um, you know, it's just it's just like I said, there's so much talent out there. I just get a thrill working with as many people. And then if I don't work with them on this project, I've got them in my little book ready to say, okay, I've got this project. Are you interested in this project? Please say yes. Yes?
Mhm.
Okay, you're in, So that's
Yeah.
kind of how it goes.
Well, that's pretty good. I like the fact that, you're sympathetic toward if you have to tell anybody no, but you still keep them in mind for future if case you might wanna take them, message them. I like that. That shows good character too.
Well, I try. I try to do right by everybody. I don't always succeed.
Mhm.
Sometimes, I just get in my own head or I get irritated or stuff like that. But I really try to do right by everybody that I meet, that I work with. It was when you were there, we had 5 hours. We had to get it done, and then we had still time things to film out there. So, you know, I didn't want you to come all the way out there, to sit around and do nothing, and then
Right.
have to leave. Of course, I didn't know you drove out 4 hour 4 hours. I thought it was only like an hour. But so I wanted to make sure that everybody had an opportunity to really feel a part of it. And when we got John Bowling and Kenny Keene to play the jerks
Mhm.
in the bar scene, and the fact that they stepped up, they did it. You stepped up for the girl out smoking. I mean, I'm glad you guys did that, and I'm absolutely thrilled that you were a part of it. And I just try to do right by everybody because people are don't even if they're getting paid, they're still putting in time, effort. I'm not paying them a lot,
Yeah.
so the fact that they're like Abigail's coming on full on tilt, you giving that great reaction to what happens in your scene, that's that makes me feel good knowing that I've given people a chance to feel like they're really a part of the project. And I just try to do the best I can and treat everybody the best way I can. And even if I don't succeed, at least I'm trying to.
Right. Well, I will make you feel a little bit better. I actually had planned like a 5-day trip to go up there because I wanted to go to the Bell Boyd Museum there in Martinsburg, I think is where it's at, where it was. Then I
Hmm.
had to go up to Gettysburg for another project. Then I stayed the night there in Harper's Ferry, then came to you. So I planned the whole day or the whole 4 or 5 days up there.
There you go. All right. Well, yes, I do feel better that you just didn't come all the way down there for 5 hours, 6 hours, and then okay, now I got to drive all the way back. So I'm glad that you got to do all this stuff. Sounds like you had a blast. That's wonderful. So I'm so glad that it was more than just one and done. You got to do a lot of other
Yeah.
things, and that makes me feel absolutely great that you did all that. You were able to do that. So I'm glad. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, that's why and another thing that I will say about you, I do appreciate, like, you put out the casting call a good ways in advance for me to for people to be able to schedule like that. I did appreciate that too.
I try to do that. You know, um, like with these things, we originally put out a cast. We had an actress that was going to play the lead.
Mhm,
Unfortunately, as you say, life happens. And this person was doing other things as well. So then we got a second person in. We did an audition. Oh, this person knocked it out, but unfortunately, things happened. So that person was not able to finish it. So we got the third. So, you know, um, putting out the casting call as early as possible, because when we are ready to roll, when we're ready, the first day of filming, it is always the plan to do a read through, at least one. I try to do two or three,
mhm.
but at least a read through. I've talked with the cinematographer. I've talked with the sound engineer. Um, uh, you know, uh, we try to get it all. So the earlier that we can do that, the earlier we can start the pre-production, getting them ready for it, making sure they're okay and they're comfortable with if there's sex scenes or nudity or that they're wearing, that they have to wear underwear. So, we have an intimacy coordinator and we can make sure that we get that. So, yeah, we really try to get everybody out there. And plus, we are low budget. We're not,
Mhm.
Hollywood. So, we can't provide a trailer and a personal assistant and a hotel or whatever. So we have to try to work around so that people like you can come out, plan a wonderful trip. Like I said, it sounded like I planned our wonderful trips and get to do something fun, while on that trip. So, again, it's just trying to do the right thing and trying to not, I hate anybody, or I hate it. I don't hate anybody. I hate it when somebody, like, okay, hey, I need somebody this weekend.
Mhm.
No, no, don't do that. I don't like, I don't do that unless it's like we're getting ready to film, everybody's there, and the person calls and says, "Hey, my car exploded."
Yeah.
Then I'll do that. But I really try not to do that because everybody has a life. Not everybody is a full time actor. So the earlier we can do that, the earlier we can help you all out. Uh, the more likely you're able to help us out because you do help us out. Even though you're in the movie for just a second, you're in the background too. But even though
Mhm.
you're just in for that little bit, it's still a huge help. And like I said, I know I keep talking about your reaction. I love the reaction. I just absolutely love your reaction. It's so perfect. It's exactly what I was looking for. So, you and the other woman that you were doing the scene with, just just killed it. So, anything I can do to help you is going to help me, and that's the way I try to do things.
Right. Well, I must say, I really do appreciate everything that you've done. I appreciate you coming on and talking to me today. I do have, I do wonder one thing. Do you
Okay.
do
What?
you do any acting like yourself?
Uh, 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 all right. Fine. A little bit of history. I started off as an actor, community theater. Actually, I was about 7 or 8 when I started doing acting. Mostly community theater, um, all the way through high school. Then I stopped. I have acted in a couple of films. I'm not really an actor. People say I am. Okay, I'll take that. Um, the most recent thing I did was by Justin Adams. I was helping him out, and um, he had me play a cigarette smoking coroner for a brief little cameo. I don't have any lines. That's perfectly fine. I don't want to have lines. But I will be an extra in films
Mhm.
just to help out. So if you see me in there, if I'm usually just an extra, non-speaking role. That's perfectly fine. I don't want to be an actor. I don't. I almost got a role as a lead, as the creepy husband that's torturing his wife. Because he basically says, are you going to eat that kind of thing? But that role just didn't pan out. That's fine. That was as close as I ever got to really acting, other than one movie, which I'm not even going to mention it because I'm terrible in it. So, but no, I am not an actor, but I do know how to act. I went to school. Of course, this was back in the '80s, so I was much younger. Have not been to school in since then, since the '80s. But I did have some acting experience, um, and I've had some very good mentors for me as a director. And Tom Toohey was the director of Heavy Duty Man. He's been a very big help and big influence on how I do things, not just as a director, but as a company, as
Mhm.
the owner of Key 13 and stuff like that. So, um, no, I'm not an actor, but I do understand the pieces and mechanics of acting thanks to good mentorship, and watching great actors just show me their craft. And as a director, I know what I'm looking for. And I'm not what they call a line read director, where I basically say, you will say it this way. Sometimes I will, because there's
Mhm.
sometimes, like on one movie, I was trying to get the actress to say the would, like that, because that was very tough, because she didn't have an accent to say the what you talking the what. Um, but she did it, and she was great. But sometimes once in a while, I'll have, all right, I want you to say it a specific way, but for the most part, um, I try to I let the actor do it, and I understand what they're trying to do. They don't want me to tell them what to do. They want me to help explain why the character is doing what they're doing. What's the emotion? What's the the connection? And since I'm also the writer on pretty much everything that I make, um, obviously I have a lot more knowledge of the backstory because it's all locked in the back
Yeah.
of my
Well, all right. I was just wondering that.
head.
Now, if you have any social media links or anything like that, where can we find your works? Any of that? Go
Well,
ahead and let everybody know.
the easiest place to find me, or to find Key 13 is www.key13film.com. Not Key 13 Films. There's no S on it. Key13film.com. Uh, Pretty much all social media links are on there. Everything we've ever done or will do is on there. Like these things, we haven't published the page yet because we're not ready to launch everything yet. But if that's the best place, so www.key13film.com, it links to everything that we got, our Instagram, our YouTube, our Facebook page. And then, you and I know a lot of the same people. So you can also find stuff that I do on just my personal Facebook page as well. So, but yeah, the website is the best way to learn everything.
Okay. And I will also put everything in the description box below when I hit publish so everybody can find your stuff there too.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I guess I'm going to go ahead and wrap up tonight. My belly's growling a little bit.
That's why I ate before I came on, just in case we went a little long. And I absolutely love doing this. I thank you so much for taking time out of your day to let me ramble on and on and on. Hopefully, I did well enough that you'll have me on again. Ask me back anytime. I'm completely down for it.
Oh, I would love to have you back again. And I'm glad that I did talk to you because I was wanting some insight on a few things personally with my just me. And I know if I was wondering the same questions, other people were too.
Probably, I mean, I'm glad you asked them, and hopefully I got gave you the answers that you were looking for, and you're not sitting there going, "Okay, well, that was nice meeting you, Matt. Please go away." Bye.
No, no, not at all. I will have you back, especially once these things launches. Maybe you can come back and explain more why you chose some of the actors and
Oh
where you
yeah,
can
yeah,
officially announce her name.
yes. Yeah, well, I'll be able to tell you. Trust me, when you find out who the actors are, um, some are well-established names in our community. Some
Mhm.
are newcomers, but all of them are amazing. So yes, please have me back on um, before the before we launch, and I'll give you the skinny.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here tonight. And guys, look in the description box below. All information for Matt will be there. And I want to thank you again. Thank you for coming on, and I hope you have a great night.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.